Coming up next on Safety and Awareness Today. We visit the German Flats Veterinarian Clinic for some tips on what we can do during the spring thaw to keep our pets safe.
The only good tick's a dead tick.
Okay. Plus, what happens when someone gets hurt while skiing or snowboarding? We'll talk to the people that handle those injuries and see how they do it. Right now we're at Giacomo Sports, and I'm here with Giacomo Arnagini.
Yes, sir.
And this is where you do some refurbishing of guns.
Yes, yes.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
All my life, really. I started real young in Italy.
In Italy, with
yes,
who?
Yes, sir. With Parazzi.
Parazzi is where you started.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You work on the guns, and you have a whole group here.
Yes, sir. I do have, beside my daughter
Yeah.
and my wife, we have Dan Lacker, which is my son-in-law.
Yeah.
And Doug,
Okay.
which is really good with the wood also.
So you have a whole team.
Yes,
And you're
yes.
working on them yourself all the time.
I'm working myself all the time, and I'm training my son-in-law to do the service and everything. So which is coming along real well.
Now your son-in-law Dan is the man that I talked to when I brought my rifle in, and I've spent a lot of time with him. Is it going to be okay for us to go over there and talk with him?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All
I would
right.
like you to do this.
Well, I'm going to break away from you, but I want to thank you for taking a minute.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
let's
you.
go
Thank
see
you.
Dan. Dan Locker has been refurbishing guns for about 12 years. I felt very comfortable leaving my gun in his hands.
Some of the things that we've done with your gun is we've hand polished and slow rust blued the barrels.
Okay, now you actually slow rust blued the barrel.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, that's interesting. How's that done?
The slow rust blue process, it's a chemical reaction with the metal, okay? It's a 5-day process, 3 coats a day. The barrel gets dipped into a water tank to agitate the chemical.
Yeah.
The chemical then gets polished off, and you're left with this fine European rust blue.
That's amazing. All right. Now this here is called what?
This is called case hardened.
Okay.
The receiver gets hand polished again so that you don't lose any of the engraving.
Yeah.
And then it gets packed into bone and charcoal and baked to a certain degree.
Now, in the old days, they used something else. So they used
a long time ago. They used cyanide,
and they don't do that anymore.
I don't think
because
that's
they're not
legal
supposed
anymore.
to. It's not
No,
legal
so
to use
that's
it. So this is really the way it's done, no matter where you go.
Yes, sir.
And it came out beautiful. Yeah, you did something with the stock, everything actually. Now, what's the stock? How do you deal
What
with
we
it?
do with the stock is we strip the old finish, the old lacquer finish off.
Yeah.
And then my brother Doug takes over, and he strips it down, he refinishes it, and then what it is you put coat after coat on, and then you sand it off, almost like the barrels. You keep sanding it off until you get the finish that you've the desired finish.
Okay. All right, it's amazing. Now, not only did you do all of these things with this rifle, and this rifle means a lot to me. This was bought by my grandfather. I learned things about this from you because you have a healthy background in knowledge regarding this. That my grandfather, I know, bought this in 1939 for my father, who passed it on down to me. It's a top and bottom 22-410, but I didn't know it was a lefty-righty.
Yeah, this is kind of a unique design. What it is the top lever. On most break-open guns, it's designed for a right-handed shooter, meaning that the top lever pushes to the right and the gun opens up. This one is actually universal. It pushes to the right and to the left, which is very unique. It's something that we don't come across too often.
I was so pleased, and what you've done with this, it looks like it came right off the assembly. It looks better than it came off the assembly line. Everything, you've replaced everything. Now the screws, all the little screws, you actually made new ones.
For yours, what we did was we touched up the old screws. We recut the slots so that they look factory new.
Okay. Yep, and then if you can't find one, and if it's not repairable by any means, you can actually make them here.
Then we have to fabricate them.
So you do everything here by hand?
Yep. Giacomo is very traditional in his methods.
He is. He's a really super guy, and he seems very traditional.
He's taught us the old school way where When you have engraving like this, if you don't do everything by hand, you get buff marks.
Yeah.
And when you polish stuff on a wheel, it really ruins the engraving.
Yeah, you lose the little print
Yes, sir.
that's in there. And you have people bring rifles and guns to you from all over the country.
Yes.
They know Giacomo's here, and they know that he's passing the trade on. This is where to go.
Yes, sir. He's really built his reputation. He's worked very hard.
Very
in
much
this
so.
country.
This is awfully impressive. Well, look, we want to go over and take a look at you doing some of the stuff at the bench.
Okay.
But I'd like to be able to hold this.
Yes,
now
sir.
this is all
This is
done.
your baby.
Oh my heavens, I can't believe this. This is just gorgeous what you've done, and it feels so good. Problem is, I'll probably never shoot this gun again now.
Well,
I don't want. I know you tested it and shot it. But this is gorgeous. What a beautiful job.
We tell a lot of our customers, you know, when they get the gun back like this, they're worried about taking it out and shooting it.
Yeah.
But it can be redone, you know. So don't worry about shooting it or getting a scratch on it.
Oh, I don't want to ever get a scratch on it again. I think if I use any of my rifles, I'll use other ones. I won't ever use this one. I think this one, now that has been passed down 3 generations, will now have a prominent place on, in the showcase. So thank you so very much for what you've done and welcoming us here to see what you do and how you do it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure to learn about the guns and what you do and to meet you. Thank you very much.
Coming up on Safety and Awareness Today.
Well, what they're doing, first of all, is try to assess in a very short period of time, what the situation is, how serious is the patient injured.
Safety and Awareness Today, sponsored in part by Dream City Mattress.
Well, Lily and I have come to German Flats Veterinarian Clinic. We're going to talk to Dr. Clark about the concerns of fleas and ticks when the snow melts.
When the snows recede every spring or even in the January thaw like we've experienced this year, any of the ticks or fleas that are out in the yard that have become dormant, they'll emerge from their eggs and be very hungry and want to attach.
Okay, so if we have a squirrel or a rabbit or another cat or a neighbor's dog or a deer going through our backyard, the fleas and ticks get off, lay eggs, get back on another host and go away.
Exactly.
But the eggs are just waiting now for warm weather.
Right. The eggs won't die during the freezing cold or even during the hot, humid summer months. They know, they have these little temperature sensors. They'll know when to hatch, when conditions are suitable for life.
Okay. Now, I've got Lily here. This is my fiance's cat. Hi, Lily. How you doing? She goes, oh, I'm in the veterinarian place. This is a little scary. But if Lily goes out into the backyard and it's the middle of winter and it hits 55 degrees, then she may bring some of these little pests back in with her.
She may, and it's a common misperception. Some owners will say, well, my cat only goes out on a leash just occasionally. They'll still, they're out there waiting and they'll take their
chances. The eggs are hatching. They're looking for a host and they're going to hop on.
And they'll hop on.
And now the ticks will normally grab onto a cat around the feet and
the ticks will sense vibration and sense warmth, and they'll feel the pet coming or the human, and they'll climb to the end of a little branch or a blade of grass and with little pinchers grab onto the pet. They typically climb on, attached to the hairs around the face or the feet, and then climb, and they'll wind up around the base of the ear or the neck and near the collar.
Okay, and that's typical for ticks. So if you pet your kitty or your dog around the face and the paws, you'll normally feel it.
I like to tell people every night before you go to bed is, give the cat a good massage and check everything all over. And if you find little lumps and bumps, kind of part the hair and get down to the bottom of it. And lo and behold, if you see this little, looks like a little growth, really.
Yeah.
You just see the abdomen of the tick. You don't see the feet or the head.
Okay.
You can either use just your fingers and a Kleenex or a little gauze pad over it to protect your hands because you don't really want to get bitten or anything on yourself. Or we carry something called a tick twister, which is a wonder bar for ticks, if you will. Basically, you part the fur to expose the abdomen of the tick. Slide this little wonder tick twister or wonder bar down You'll feel it attach under the tick and just pull it right off, and that feels pretty good, getting rid of that tick.
Wasn't anything there, and you're all concerned.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's just testing, just checking. All right, now as far as the fleas and the ticks, they both regurgitate into the pet, so they carry some diseases with them.
Ticks, everyone's familiar with Lyme disease that
Yes.
ticks carry, but ticks also carry some very nasty diseases, Ehrlichia, anaplasmosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, to name a few, all of which can be spread to our pets as well as ourselves. So that's another reason. The only good tick's a dead tick.
Okay.
So you want
And
to.
fleas carry something
Fleas will carry something that's a threat for cats called Bartonella. And Bartonella is a disease that causes terrible mouth infections in cats, but it can also cause some very significant infectious arthritis in people, heart diseases, liver problems. So that's a
Yes.
concern too.
Now we can protect our cat and our dog. We can arm them before we let them out in the backyard. What are some of the modern ways?
The modern ways are much easier. Over the years, years ago, we'd had to flea spray them or dip them. Now we have frontline Advantix and Advantage available. The way I like to use it on a cat is to part the fur. It comes in a little dropper. Apply it to the base of the neck, right on the skin, and then just leave it alone. You don't need to coat them or do anything to them. Just leave it alone.
Don't wash the cat or dog
Exactly.
before you do it. How does it get to the whole body then?
It migrates from head to toe by a process called translocation. And what that means is the chemical has a certain carrier in it that gets down into the lipid or the fat layer of the skin and just migrates in that layer and coats them head to toe.
Head to toe. That's incredible. And that'll work better if you don't wash them before you apply
Yes,
it.
it's absorbed much more effectively if they're not bathed.
Okay, all right. Very good. Well, thank you. That's a lot of information, and it's important. And there are ways to protect our little extended family members.
Yep, glad to help you out. It's important to
Yes.
keep them happy because they keep us happy.
That's for sure. Thank you again
Okay.
for taking time with us.
Thank you.
There are many things that make a well-rounded young adult, but some of the things are so obvious we overlook them. If we wanted to strengthen our arms, Tim, and make our arms stronger, our upper body, what could we do?
Do punches, sir?
We could do punches. Show me some punches. There's a horse stance, and look at the punches. Nice power, excellent. Would you stand right over there, Tim, and just relax? You can put your feet together and take it easy. And if we wanted to strengthen our lower body, what could we do?
You do kick, sir.
We could do kicks. Could you do a couple of kicks for me? All right, beautiful. Excellent. Would you stand right here? All right. Now, we've done punches and kicks, and those are basic movements that you can teach your son or daughter at home. They're good defensive movements, but they also work the lower and the upper part of the body. Most important part of the body is our mind. Alex, what could we do to strengthen our mind?
We could read, sir.
We could read. That's excellent. Can you do that exercise for me right now?
No, sir.
No, why not?
Because you need something with words to do it.
So you need something that's got words, a book, a magazine. Where could we go? We could go to a library. I like it. That's excellent. And that's the strongest part of our body, and that's the part we need to work the most is our minds. And the exercise is what? Reading.
Coming up on Safety and Awareness Today.
Well, what they're doing, first of all, is try to assess in a very short period of time, what the situation is, how serious is the patient injured.
Looking for more safety and awareness? Log on to www.cnyhomepage.com.
Skiing and snowboarding is a lot of fun, but if there is an accident, these are the people that you can count on to take care of you.
We have 37 patrollers here at Woods Valley.
37 patrollers at Woods Valley, and sometimes, I mean, you have like 5 or 6 on the hill at a time, right?
We always have 4 scheduled to be on the hill,
Yeah.
and then anybody else can ski as
Join
they
in and
please.
be
Right.
like, that's incredible. How long have you been doing this?
15 years.
All right, what's the most common injury these days? We're talking right now 2007, 2008, what are we looking at?
Wrists, shoulders, knees, the young male snowboarder is the most prevalent victim, if you will.
Okay.
A lot of kids out there snowboarding.
It is the snowboarding. The elbow, now I understand the wrist falling back, falling forward. What's the shoulder one?
Well, the shoulder will be if they fall forward or back and they reach out with their hands
Yeah.
to stop themselves, or sometimes they can't get their hand out quick enough and their elbow hits first and it drives the shoulder up.
And it drives the shoulder back. Dislocates it, pulls it out of the scapula bone then. Really is what it does. Now, everybody on your patrol unit, they're all skilled and trained?
Yeah, we're all certified, OEC, Outdoor Emergency Care. It's a 40-hour, minimum 40-hour course everybody has to take to be eligible to be on the patrol.
Okay.
And then beyond that, we have to refresh every year. Every year we refresh for the OEC, and then we also refresh for CPR and AED training.
All right. If we're talking there's an injury on the hill, and it's spotted or somebody is shouting, and so one of the patrol agents goes over. What basically is the first thing that happens?
Well, what they're doing, first of all, is try to assess in a very short period of time, what the situation is. How serious is the patient injured?
Yeah.
What might have happened? Was it a collision with a tree, with another person? Or was it a simple, like he's
Fell
all
down,
by himself?
twisted, and rolled
Exactly.
a couple of
That's the
times.
very first thing they do. Try to assess very quickly what the situation is. And then based on that, they swing into action. If they need help, they're going to call for another patroller. If they need a toboggan to transport the IP down, they'll call for that. If it's a serious injury, for example, if someone were unconscious,
They're not talking, they're not sharing any information with you.
if they're unconscious, it's an automatic ambulance ride. So if that's the situation, they're going to call for an ambulance, and then they're also going to call for the toboggan and oxygen, and the whole troops swing up for that.
Swing up for that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's really quite a responsibility, and you have to stay alert. I mean, I think all of us, no matter what our age, understands the importance of a lifeguard at a swimming pool or on the beach. But you're lifeguards on all of these hill runs.
Essentially, right.
Yeah, and that's really what it is, and you're trying to keep track of where people are and if they've fallen just because they lost their balance and they want to sit for a minute, or if there's a problem.
Right.
Waiting to see if they move and get back up and smile.
I mean, our job is to render assistance as needed and to promote a safe skiing environment.
All right, and then you're prepping them, as you said, for the next tier of medical treatment.
Right, our job medically is to stabilize the injury, do no harm, and move them very quickly to the next level of care as is needed. Now, many times they're coming down, we're just splitting them, it's a very minor injury, and they're just going to go home with mom and dad or go home on their own.
Yep.
Or it could be something that's going to require an ambulance ride. And the ambulance would come here, and we ship them out to the hospital. Every patroller carries a pack, and in the pack are the staples of our injured: bandages, cravats, cling, 4x4, so forth, tape. And then in the toboggans, there's 6 toboggans on our hill. Each toboggan has a large bag on it, which has splints, traction splint, blankets, head blocks, cervical collars.
Woods Valley is really quite well outfitted here. This
Very well.
has been
And every patrol would be that way. We're all part of the National Ski Patrol, so we follow their protocol.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, now, I guess my last thing is, I do want to mention this. To do all of this, medical treatment, stabilizing, emotional stabilizing of a patient, you still have to be able to ski really well.
Yes, you have to be able to ski. And we do a lot of that too. We train every year for ski and toboggan handling, and basically if you're on a ski patrol, you're doing it because you like to ski anyway. So
Okay.
we have some very good skiers
That's
on the
great.
patrol.
Well, I've met a lot of the members, and they really seem very pleasant and very positive. A lot of really good attitudes.
A lot of it. Everybody here wants to help people.
It wants to help people. It shows. Thank you so much for taking time with us today.
You're welcome, Cliff.
I appreciate it.
Coming up on Safety and Awareness Today.
If you saw a gun or a knife laying on the side of the road or in some bushes or trees, what would you do?
Safety and Awareness Today, brought to you in part by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
What Alex and I are doing right now is talking about gun and knife safety. Well, gun and knife safety for an adult in our school is practicing knife techniques. We use a rubber knife. For adults or higher ranked students, we use wooden guns. But for a young adult, gun and knife safety involves using your mind. And when we talk about guns and knives, we know they're dangerous, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do. If you saw a gun or a knife laying on the side of the road or in some bushes or trees or near the school that you go to, what would you do?
I tell an adult.
you tell an adult. Give me an example of an adult that you would tell.
My mom or dad,
Okay.
teacher at school.
Teacher at school. You wouldn't go pick it up?
No, sir.
Even if it was shiny and it looked brand new?
No, sir.
No. Boy, it's tempting though, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's dangerous. We want to make sure we get it to an adult. If you weren't anywhere near the school or your mom or dad, you could go into a store and you could tell a storekeeper. But an adult needs to know where it is so that they can take it and put it in a safe place, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what we need to know about guns and knives, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent. The Safety and Awareness Today show is in its second year, and we are looking for more ideas. If you have a job, an activity, or a sport that involves safety standards for you or the community, we would like you to write us and tell us about it. Write us at safetyandawareness@cnyhomepage.com. We'd like to be in touch with you and find out what we can do to make our community safer.